Well, good morning to anybody who comes along and finds this, presumably after the live stream. I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the traditional bit where I make sure everything is working. Which it seems to be. And once again I am going with the earbud suspended microphone making me cross-eyed configuration because it's growing on me. Which is a bit of a shame, I suppose, because I bought a headset just for this purpose, and it turns out I didn't really need to, but oh well, we live and learn. And if this fails, at least I've got a backup. Backups are always good. And we're back in the world of the long dark. I think I've done 31 days in this run, which for me is really quite good. So I'm just waiting for the traditional Dongs of Doom to sound off to my right, so that anybody who noticed, oh, he's streaming again, will have a minor opportunity to join before I start. It's still miserable here in northern England. Just a couple of days ago, of course, we had the high winds that came through. Fortunately, we here were not massively affected. Then that was decided to be followed up by hail, which, based on the amount that collected on my windowsill, could be measured in inches. That was miserable. And I suppose I'd better get on with it, because I need to remember... Oh, sorry for scratching my head. I need to remember what I was doing. Oh, I've survived 31 days, yeah, so I'm in my... And you can probably hear the chimes going in the background. Right, let's see. What time of day was it when I was last here? Just reorienting myself with what I was doing. The last time I was here, I was streaming, I got attacked by a wolf and duly shot it. So I'm kinda hoping that I'll be able to track down the body, which was over in that direction. I'm assuming I hit it. It made the appropriate noises and ran off. I don't know whether crows indicate the location of a dead wolf. I would assume so. So... it's too late in the day, I think, for me to actually head off and do anything significant. I hope I've got enough food. It would be embarrassing if I didn't. Did I reload? So my plan for today, or tonight, is to sleep here. If the weather's clear, then I'll head off in that direction and see if I can find the wolf, because I want its hide, and I believe you can actually eat them. Presumably very well cooked, although that is always recommended under these circumstances. One thing I did find out was an account of a sled dog journey, and it was in this sort of general northern Canadian region, and the two people who were making the journey essentially ran out of food and had to resort to eating their own dogs. And what's significant about that is that one of them died after eating dog's liver. I think it was high quantities of... oh, grief. I want to say vitamin E poisoning, but I could be wrong. I'm just whittling away the time while I have a general look around. So if you are in a situation where you have to eat predators, it might be best to avoid their liver. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd have to go and double check and triple check. You know, what happens if you eat cougar liver, for example? And I think I've said this before, if you ever accidentally find yourself in this kind of situation, which I hope you don't, any meat you get should be very, very well cooked. You don't want to try doing fancy medium rare or anything like that. A lot of wild game does actually have parasites in it, and the only way to get rid of it is to cook it extremely well. Strangely, this also applies to fish. I believe there was a study done recently which found that sushi, raw fish, 10% of it was actually infected by parasites. Now, that's not actually as bad as it sounds, as if it doesn't sound bad enough, because if the sushi had been basically deep frozen for, I think it was 7 days, and then defrosted and eaten immediately, that actually killed the parasites in the fish. But you may have seen people, they dig a fish out of the ocean. Yeah, it's a halfway decent chance, at least a 1 in 10 chance that there may very well be some parasites in there which would cause you some significant harm. Now, the good news is that the stomach acids in human beings is mostly good enough to destroy those parasites. Mostly. Except for the occasions when it doesn't. So, something to bear in mind. Even if you get the freshest of fish in a survival situation, you don't necessarily want to 100% rely on your stomach acids to keep you safe. So, best to cook the fish if you possibly can. Regardless of how fresh it is. I remember, I think it was Anthony Bourdain in Kitchen Confidential talking about his experience watching swordfish being prepared and parasitic worms being pulled from the flesh. I mean, again, if you cook it properly, that shouldn't be a problem. But it's slightly sobering, But I myself, in my much, much younger days, when I ate a lot of venison when I was a kid, have seen, for example, one deer my father shot had, I think, what you might politely describe as a tumorous liver. Now, I don't know what caused it, and I don't know what would have happened had we cooked the meat and eaten it, but out of pure safety, we didn't. I think it was the only time we actually experienced something where there was something clearly wrong with the deer. That particular deer ended up being fed to the dogs. Thoroughly cooked, I might add, so probably it would have been perfectly safe for us, but it was a little off-putting. And needless to say, this is a good opportunity to bring up the legend that you can get parasites in pork. Perfectly true, you can, as a matter of fact. It's not the pig's fault, per se, it's the conditions that they used to be kept in. Which is why you used to have this idea that, fine to eat pork, just cook it very thoroughly. That's basically where it comes from. But pork is not unique by any means. In that regard, any game animal has that possibility. And if the conditions are bad enough, I imagine you'd find the same with sheep and beef. Right. Let's head on in, I think. Seeing as nothing seems to be about to jump out and devour me. I need to find out how much food I've got. What have I got in terms of food? Oh, I'm good for food. Oh, good. Alright. That's always nice. Just have a look around. What are my supplies like over here? Where's my cupboard? I had a cupboard somewhere that I was storing generic stuff in. Have I read that? Somebody likes their beef jerky. There was a point at which... okay, there's a couple of books I might not have read. I don't know whether I've read the Frontier Shooting Guide. I can't remember. If I find myself trapped indoors, I will make use of that. Oh, let's sleep for a bit. The usual nighttime activity.
I need to eat soon.
And I've got nothing to do for a few hours. Went to bed too early, I suppose. Right, with a bit of luck it'll be more or less light when I wake up. And it isn't. Don't you just hate it when that happens? So if you're relatively new to me streaming The Long Dark... Oh, while I think about it, let me go and grab some sodas out of here, if I have any. So, yes, going to try and find a dead deer. Sorry, dead wolf. And probably make my way back to the farm after that. Yeah, that should do me good. Right, let's have a look, see what the weather's like. With my luck, it's blowing a blizzard. Yes. Not going anywhere in that. Alright, so what do? I go and have a look and see whether I've read this. No, I've read it. Well, I'll hang on to it because I think I read the sewing primer as well, so we'll double check that. Yep, done that. Let's see about making myself some water, I suppose. Did I? I thought I left... trying to find the kitchen. I thought I left... I didn't. Oh, I did. Oh, that's good. Let's see what have I got to make a fire. I don't have much in the way of wood. It's a resolvable problem. Requires hatchet. My hatchet broke, unfortunately. I'm moderately certain, you know, with a sufficient amount of force, you could probably break one of those down. Yeah. Did I use up all the... I must have done. Could have sworn there might have been some reclaimed wood around here I hadn't used. Perhaps I am mistaken. I had forgotten how slightly nerve-wracking this game can be. It's been a couple of weeks since I streamed it. I took a bit of a break. Right, I need at least 2 hours of fuel, and I don't think I have that. So... yeah, this is not... these are not conditions conducive to me just wandering widely around. Wow, yeah, that does not sound very pleasant. Let's make a quick... Yeah, I've already checked all that. Don't worry, I'm not going far. Hopefully nothing else is mad enough to be out in this weather with me. Trying to keep half an eye on my temperature over there. Oh. Okay, maybe. I'm talking to myself. Well, obviously. Let's see if I've got enough to boil some water. If I can ever find the kitchen again. I assure you, I don't wander around my own apartment so aimlessly. I'm just one of those people, I don't know whether it's just me, that can get lost in video games quite easily, even though there's no technical reason why I should.
That did it.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
My stomach feels like an empty pit.
Oh, at least I've got plenty of water now. Let's go and see if the weather's going to be any kinder to us. Yes! Alright. Let's go see if we can find a dead wolf. Just remind myself how I'm supposed to aim and fire. Right. Excuse me, I have to scratch my head. Don't worry, Mr. Rabbit, you're quite safe. For now. So, yes, it was in this area ahead where I got attacked by a wolf last time. Now, I don't really know what the respawn rules are, but my hope is that by shooting the one that attacked me, that... Ah! Oh, look at that. There are crows. It's in the right general direction. So, yes, I was actually attacked by a wolf in this region. I was actually down over there, shot it, and the wolf ran up in this direction, which is coincidentally in the same direction as the crows. I hope it's not a body. Have I looked in here? Presumably. Oh. Okay. Not helpful. And those appear to be the only crows in the area. Really shouldn't have turned my back on the deer. Those actually can be quite dangerous under the wrong circumstances. There's a small number of people every year that do actually get killed by deer. Ooh, I wonder where this leads. I haven't been down this far. I'm kind of hoping at some point that I can get to Mystery Lake. Oh! Interesting. Oh! Thank goodness, look at this.
I could use this.
Nice to have a hatchet. Got another hatchet. Well, I could use a whetstone, really, but the hatchet will do. That just made my life a little easier. Okay, so I'm not cold, which is good. If you've missed past episodes, I managed to make rabbit skin gloves and hat, and I can't remember what I did with the deer skin. So I'm going to start heading my way back to the farm. Which should be off in the direction I'm more or less heading. Because the farm is actually where I'm currently based out of. I've got meat there, I've got traps there. I've got spare wood there, that sort of thing. Slightly disappointed that I can't find the the deer I shot, but I suppose you can't have everything. I know I've checked that out. I can't remember if I've been up there. Huh. Maybe not. I don't remember this. Milton Park. Guess I haven't been up here before. Still should be heading in the right general direction. If you see me craning my head around a bit like that, it's because this microphone blocks a little bit of my vision. So I can see it out of my right eye. Excuse me a moment. Oh, okay. This is new to me. Oh, looks like some poor fellow holed up here and died. Oh, good. That is very handy.
What have we here?
Oh, that's going to be handy.
I'm not sure I can carry much more. I need more of that.
Yeah, I'll have to worry about his... There. Okay, take that. In case anybody's wondering, the difficulty is Voyager, I think. I don't really need that. Did anybody perchance just happen to leave a random whetstone lying around? You know, because that's the kind of thing you're going to do, isn't it? Just leave a whetstone lying around. Oh, now, that's interesting. And potentially a source of trouble. As I know from bitter experience, moose can kill you in this game. My favourite story from the Long Dark is the time I spawned in. I think it was either this or slightly easier difficulty level. And I spawned in, and more or less right in front of me was a moose. And the moose decided to take personal objection to my presence and gave me a significant emotional experience when it trampled me. I'd literally just started. I don't think I'd even picked anything up. So, okay. That was not fun. Except for the fact that as I staggered to my feet, I was then subjected to yet another significant emotional experience when the moose elected to trample me to death the second time round. I think I was maybe 5 minutes into the game. So this is only maybe the second or third time I've actually encountered a moose in-game, including the one that killed me. So I'm not sure to what extent I can sort of make my way around. Let's hope I don't get too close and it doesn't get too perturbed. But I am, seeing as I'm here, rather keen to search things out. Oh, of course, not having my pistol on me is not recommended. Let's see what the good people of Milton might have left. Ah!
Excellent.
Alright. 2 hatchets! Right, and I'm heading for over here. And I'm in this area, so I've obviously been down in this region before. Yes, I have. Okay, I know this area. Pretty much the best thing for me to do is to head back and go round. Alright. Yeah, I'm not about to go spelunking down there. Sorry, it's not spelunking, is it? Climbing, yes. Crow feathers for arrows. Now, right now what I really want to do is just get out of here without irritating the wolf. Sorry, the moose. I keep half expecting to hear the thundering of hooves behind me. A moose is not an animal to be trifled with. I mean, yes, they're deer, but they are extremely large. Right. I can't relax just yet. I need to head back to the farm. Thank you, Connor. Assuming that isn't sarcasm. I believe that is possibly the deer I am currently subsisting off of, in terms of I shot one and it was in this area-ish, and it looks like that respawned. I'm on my 32nd day. I know, it's, compared with many, it is not a magnificent achievement, but it's the longest I've survived. Even at such a relatively easy level. In past live streams in this series, how many times have I died? 2, maybe 3? Ah, it's actually good to be home. Oh, it's... oh, no, that's right. There's a dead body over there. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate it. I hope that means you're a subscriber. I have to apologize for not having been on in the last couple of weeks. I actually got quite burned out from streaming and, in fact, gaming. And I took a break. Right. Let's do my usual stuff in here.
I'm gonna have to leave something behind.
Yes, we'll sort you out in a second. See if I can remember what I've got. How come that's... oh, I was going to say, how come that's only 62% cured? Is I may have been gone for a while, but the game has not. Wood. Ah, it is surprisingly nice to be back home. Right, let's do some inventory management. What shall we drop? I think it was deerskin boots. Hello, Vampire Lynx. How are you? Good to see you again. At this rate, the gang's going to be all here. Now I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Dropping stuff. Let's drop that, which is the best of my hatchets now that I've got 2 of them. So even if I don't find a whetstone, I've got a bit of leeway. Why am I doing this? Just sort by weight. Why am I carrying 3 kilograms of charcoal? Oh, I'm glad I'd forgotten we were talking about cookies and cooking last time. Don't worry, it is not my plan to start talking about cooking YouTubers at this point. Although now that the subject has come up, anything's possible. Right, remember I've got a little stash of stuff there. Let's drink some water. Oh, talking of which, I did do a minimal amount of research on bolognese. For others watching, Vampire Lynx and I, well, Vampire Lynx was very kindly listening to me rant about cooks online and quotes traditional things, and one of the subjects that came up was bolognese sauce, which apparently doesn't come from Bologna, comes from Imola. But I found that the first recorded recipe was a cookbook in 1892. Actually, no. I think, Vampire, it was you that found that out for me, wasn't it? Anyway, it turns out that the traditional way of doing things that you might see presented on various Italian YouTube cooking systems, yes, there is some variation. One of them doesn't use mince at all. It uses chunks. So next time somebody says this is a traditional bolognese, you get to challenge them by saying, well, are you cooking with chunks of meat or mince? Oh, my snares are all still intact, which is good to know. I tell you what, it is surprisingly nice to be back here. Insofar as one can never be truly safe in the game, this is an area I do feel moderately safe in. I actually feel safer here than I do in town. I think it's because here, at least, I've been able to feed myself almost exclusively off the land. I've been able to clothe myself. And I feel a little less pressure and tension from being here. Incidentally, if my lips start moving and you can't hear me, please somebody say something, because I'm pretty certain a couple of times I've forgotten to unmute the microphone, despite the fact that literally right in my eye line I've got the red light showing that it's actually in use. I am irritated that I couldn't find that wolf. So long term, once I get I don't know, bored or tired or feel like taking some chances, I would like to try and find my way from here to Mystery Lake, which I think is in that general direction ahead of me, I think. Connor, yes. There's a couple of ways to play the game. There is a story mode, which I haven't played. This is how long can you survive mode. I tend to think that there inevitably has to be a point at which you will run out of the ability to make fire. You're limited in the game, I think, ultimately by how long you can make fire. Once you lose the ability to make fire, you lose the ability to get water, and then that means you'll die. But I believe people have spent 1,000 days or 1,500 days in game. Logically, a lot of the things that you pick up, let me go into my inventory and show you. Sooner or later, most things will break. You can forge a crude knife or hatchet. I don't have the means of doing so. Why am I carrying 2 crowbars? In the end, everything breaks, and you are going to be pushed into basically living off the land. So, you won't find things like newsprint, you won't find things like the soda. Sooner or later, all that will run out. No, this is Voyager, Juan. I think it's Voyager I'm playing. So, in principle... Whoa! That got foggy very quickly. But yeah, I don't know what the record is, but I think I had somebody on here who had, I think it was 1,500 days in game. I mean, the reality of this environment... Oh, just to sort of give you a recap, the idea is there's been some kind of apocalypse that has sent the world into a certain state, as a result of which you ended up crashing into this remote region of Canada. The animals are a bit more aggressive, or particularly the predators. But in the end, yeah, the goal is just to survive as long as you can. There is, in fact, a sequel set in the same world under development called Black Frost, which I believe is going to be cooperative, which would be very interesting, I think. But no, I haven't done... I mean, there are some people who put a huge amount of time and effort into this. And they'll play... There are challenges you can do, which are a separate part of the game. There's the story mode. I don't know if the story modes even come to an end. There's there's other stuff to do. I'm quite happy just trying to see how long I can survive. But particularly given my... Wow. 11,000 days. That is some dedicated gameplay. I'm not sure I've ever devoted that much time to any game, with the possible exception of Minecraft. Sequel, I think, is due for early release, early access, I think in 2026. I believe the developers have plans for continuing development of The Long Dark, at least until that point. So, in fact, this game itself was in early release for the longest time. I must admit, this is the kind of bit I like, that I can actually stand here and look around and I'm not getting cold. Because, as you can see, this really helps. The boots and the gloves and the hat, and that actually makes a huge amount of difference. I believe I can make a deerskin coat. I don't have enough deerskins for that at this point. Right, excuse me a second. I'm hoping that Black Frost, when they say cooperative, I'm hoping it doesn't mean PvP. That would not please me a little bit. Because that would inevitably devolve into people shooting each other rather than trying to survive the game. But that's just me. Alright, let's, seeing as I'm standing in the middle of my living room doing nothing, let's have a look. What was... Oh, let's pop my crowbar somewhere where I hopefully will be able to find it later. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if you're going to be picky about such things. Let's have a quick snack.
You could eat a horse.
Right. Where's my bed? Oh, I forgot. I needed to get some food from outside. I forgot to do that. That was silliness. Yes, one of the people watching once told me about this. It means at least I can find where I'm going much more easily. I was actually hoping as a sequel they would do something like this in the Sonoran Desert. Simply because I happen to live in the Sonoran Desert and I rather like the place, but they decided, logically enough, to basically place it in the same situation. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm anything like an expert on surviving in the Sonoran Desert, beyond being able to go for long walks without dehydrating myself. I think I've talked about that before. When I first went out to Arizona many years ago, I don't live in Arizona anymore. I'm back in northern England. It wasn't at all uncommon for there to be news reports about tourists, for example, who had gone walking and had died of dehydration, sometimes quite close to the road. The other thing that seemed to happen fairly regularly was people getting mauled by black bears, despite the fact that Tucson is in the Sonoran Desert. There are regions around it in the mountains where you do get black bears, and it's quite a different environment. Right, past experience tells me that I'll still get cold here, but I'm close enough to home that I can move around. Yes, it's still too cold for me to spend a significant amount of time outside. Hang on a second. I just need to switch my clock back on. There we go. Yeah, I very quickly learned hiking in the Sonoran Desert how much water to take and various things you don't do. I remember I went for a walk one time. I think I took a litre of water or so, and I quite quickly got into trouble in that I was very thirsty very quickly. And I don't think I've ever been so thirsty in my life. It was slightly scary. So I ended up making certain rules for myself. I made sure I took several litres of water. I would only walk as long as I had half my water left, at which point I would turn back under any circumstances, regardless of where I thought I might want to go. I've once encountered a father and his son. I'm trying to remember precisely where it was. And they had gone off, and they'd done the same thing I had. They only had a very limited amount of water with them. And fortunately, they were a not insignificant distance from the car. They could have been in quite serious trouble. They would have survived it, but my goodness, they would have been in quite serious trouble had they not turned back or not met me, because I promptly gave them half my water and then turned back myself. The other thing I learned was, as tempting as it may be, in 100-degree weather, 100 Fahrenheit plus weather, was don't take cold water with you. That will make you quite ill. I learned that the hard way as well. So if you're ever in the desert, warm water will hydrate you just as well as cold water, and cold water can put you into what I believe is called thermal shock, and that can make you sick, And if you're nauseous, you can throw up, and if you do that, then you're in even more trouble because now you're dehydrated. I'm just waiting for the weather to clear up a bit, so let us see if I got anything in my pile. Oh, I need 2 more of these. And I can make a coat, I think. Yeah, so my limited experience of surviving in quotes in the Sonoran Desert basically comes down to water. Right, if in doubt, make some water. Excuse me. Time is it? 61 minutes. Okay. Alright, before I start on the water, I am, as those who are familiar with me, going to do my usual thing. I will pause the game, take a quick break, be back in a couple of minutes, and I will see you then. If I can just remember what I'm doing. And I am back. Where's my mouse gone? Oh, there we go. Oh. When I put my earbuds back in, it beeped at me for, I don't know, reasons. But it didn't say disconnected. So what was I doing? I was going to make water, wasn't I? It's, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you saying, Connor? Ah, right. That actually sounds like a pretty good idea. In the end, that, to be honest with you, that never really occurred to me to use it just to cool me down. And of course, if you're out long enough, it'll melt.
Come on.
But if anybody hasn't done it, walking in 100 plus degree weather is interesting. You really appreciate even the slightest wind. It's amazing how even a slight breeze makes a difference.
I could eat anything.
Alright, so I will now drop some water, because I've got far too much of it. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Let's go and see if I can terrorize the local rabbit population, pick up some... No! No, no. That's a big nope. Ah, actually, now that I've said that, there are still rabbits around here. I haven't cleaned them out completely. Let's go check the traps at least. Well, we got down to, I think it was -7 degrees centigrade a few weeks ago, which was not fun. Our energy costs are very high. So what I tend to do under those circumstances, I can't afford to heat my apartment. It would cost a lot. So I just heat up the room I'm currently sitting in. And the rest of the apartment was freezing. You know it's cold when your washing up liquid starts to congeal. Right now, we just had that storm that came through. It didn't hit me too badly, but some areas lost power. I understand Northern Ireland was hit quite badly. But even though we're now heading towards February, we could still have freezing weather and snow. I probably ought to find another source of rabbits nearby. It's definitely put on my to-do list. Well, that's interesting. Even though it's foggy, the crows are still out. I lived in Austria for a few years, and we got down to -20, and I was told that was a mild winter, which I can easily believe. But the thing about it I found was that a good Austrian winter is actually, I say, quite nice. Yeah, you know, England seems to have the ability to just be miserable, which I didn't experience in the depths of an Austrian winter. Yeah, I could get lost in this very easily. But there are parts of Austria in the mountains which regularly, during winter, essentially get completely cut off from the outside world until about April, which is when the snow plows can get through and open up the road. I can't remember the name of the particular town that that description applies to.
Something to eat.
I am going to have to, in the next day or so, try and hunt another deer. In fact, I probably ought to do it at the next opportunity, which means I need to think about making simple arrows. I've got a couple of arrowheads which are attached to arrows, but I don't have any way of making more arrowheads at the moment, which is slightly daft because you can make a perfectly decent arrowhead using tin snips and scrap metal. It doesn't have to be, you know, a forged arrowhead to be effective. But that's the game. Let's go and do some research. Where's my book?
All I can think about is food.
What time of day is it? Oh, we've still got loads of time. Ah, okay. At least the visibility's a bit better. And yes, in case anybody's wondering, my approach to the game tends to be really quite cautious. So I'm not about to do things that are risky just for the sake of doing something that is risky. I'm sorry. Excitement is not my goal here. Aha! This might be worth it. Ooh, wait a second. Oh, that makes a change. There was a period where every time I came over this region, there was always deer here. Then I made a bow and arrow, and then every time I came into this region, there were no deer. But yeah, and I've tried various methods of creeping up on them, and in the end, it simply came down to get as close as you can. Yeah. Still, it's good to know they're here. Now, what was I saying about? I saw something over here which looked like a deer carcass on the ground, but when did so many deer start showing up? This is... I'm quite happy to scavenge a dead deer if I can find one, but... yeah. The problem I found... the nature of this is such that... let's see... nope. Well, let's just give it time. I tried sort of hunkering down like this, and you can't draw the bow. You have to stand up. Which does make a lot of sense. Although actually I would have thought you could go onto one knee for the kind of bow we've got here, and that should be...
I think my stomach is eating itself.
Sufficient. Let's see if we can take a shot at this. I need a slightly larger keyboard. I've complained about that before. My little finger keeps dashing for the control button so I can crouch, and it misses. Too slow, too slow. That's a shame. That would have been perfect. Still? I've only got 2 arrows, you see, so I don't want to just take a random shot, because there's a good chance I'll lose the arrow. Although yeah. Well, I've got nothing better to do. I can continue. I spent quite a bit of time in one of those lean-tos over there, waiting for a deer to get close. And that's when I discovered I couldn't shoot while crouched. Yeah, because if I stand up now, they're going to spook. I'm sure there's an approved way of hunting here. I've literally shot 1 deer in all my gameplay. There. That's... All right. Okay. Yeah, 'cause last time, um, there was a deer that comes down over there, up in this direction and down. That's the one I got. I think I kind of got lucky with the shot too. And then there's this gentleman who comes down this way. But that's too far away for me to take a shot. Which is not unrealistic, actually. Bow hunting is generally done at as close a range as you can really get. You can forget taking a 100-yard shot. You want to be within, 20 meters maybe. Though I haven't done bow hunting, but long shots in bows are used for flight shooting, typically. I suppose some forms of target shooting and warfare. Not that that's much of a thing these days. Although, having said that, during the Bosnian-Serbian Civil War, apparently there was somebody out there who did use a bow, and in fact there are reports that crossbows were used, and it turned out the crossbows were surprisingly effective at getting through sandbags where a bullet would be stopped. Now, I don't know to the extent to which that story is absolutely true, but that was the report that came out of that particular conflict. I'm slightly surprised they don't actually have crossbows in the game. As a survival weapon, a crossbow is probably a bit more useful than a bow if you can make one, because you can span it and then wait, and you don't have a delay between spotting your target, aiming, and loosing a quarrel at it. Whereas with a bow, as this demonstrates, you've basically got to go to full draw and then loose, and you have to do that fairly quickly. One of the more irritating things about the way that bows are sometimes depicted in movies, you may have seen it, where the archers are required to stay at full draw for a quite ridiculous amount of time. Now, you might be able to do that with a fairly light bow, or something like a compound bow. But if you're doing something like what I've got here, or you have a heavy draw weight bow, yeah, forget it. It's really not practicable. In fact, as I recall, the from the classic era of the use of longbow in warfare, which would be 100 Years' War, they didn't have, I don't think they had separate knock, draw, and loose commands. I think it was something like knock, as if they needed that, and draw, and they didn't say loose. Or they didn't say draw, they said loose instead, because when you are utilizing something like a 160-pound draw weight bow, you can't expect people to hang around for more than a second or so without loosing the arrow. because the amount of strength required to do that is quite phenomenal. Yeah, was not expecting to be talking about that during this live stream. Most hunting bows, by the way, are not heavy draw weight bows. They don't need to be. At the kind of close range that you hunt with a bow, you don't need a 160-pound bow. 60 will do just fine. There is a case, and I can't remember the name of the archer. He was very famous in his time, and I can't remember his name. But he was quite famous. We're talking back all during the 1920s, 1930s, that kind of era. I'd have to look it up. He famously went hunting elephant with a bow. This was back in an era where that kind of thing was much more common and much more approved of. And even for that, he only, in quotes, only used a 125-pound draw weight bow, and that was at very close range. And I think it took him 2 or 3 arrows to get the job done. The really heavy draw weight bows, the 120-pound plus that English archers used, yeah, that was something else. Sorry, I'm just losing. But the heavy draw weight for a war bow wasn't necessarily about armor piercing. It's very difficult to get an arrow through well-made plate armor. I won't say impossible, just very difficult. And even then at very close range. The whole purpose of the heavy draw weight warbow was to basically, in a formation of archers, to be able to hit areas out to about 200 meters with heavy arrows. That was the purpose. At 200 meters, your chance of getting through plate is about 0. I'm not sure about chainmail, and even for chainmail you really need a specialist arrow to do that. So in fact the archers at the famous English battles of Crécy, Poitiers and Agincourt would shoot for range as a group. And when you've got 7,500 people shooting at a range of 150 meters, and they're loosing say 4 arrows a minute at a controlled rate, you're going to get some. That's the purpose of it. And your horses are going to be horribly vulnerable, and you've always got an increased chance that some arrow is going to get a lucky strike through an eye slot or a joint in the armor or something like that. If you look online, there are some really quite fascinating examples where people have tried to test out the effect of a heavy draw-weight bow on armor, on well-made armor, to see what happens. And the results are definitely not what you would see in a movie by any means. Well, that's it. That's what I was wondering what that was, wasn't I? I think that's just a rock. I will check anyway. Yeah, it's not going to be a body. There's no crows. I'll check it anyhow. Yep, it's rocks. What time is it? It's actually getting late in the day. If I were to hit a deer now, I probably wouldn't be able to find it before nightfall. Last time it took me about 2 days to find the body. Whoa. That might be worth a shot. Nope, missed. Actually, that wasn't bad. Okay, that gives me some idea, some hope. Pretty certain I missed. Now I've got to find the arrow. And if I had made a successful hit, there would be a blood trail, and there isn't. So there is a remarkably good chance I just lost that arrow, which is... No, I didn't. Okay, that gives me a bit more hope in terms of range. Yeah. If my preference would be hit a deer early in the day, gives me a better chance of following it and finding it that same day. As I said last time, I think it took me... I lost it, and I had to wait a couple of days for the weather to clear, and then I was able to follow crows to lead me to the body. And needless to say, I lost the arrow. I'll give it one more shot. Literally. Part of the testing they were doing with bows was to find out what kind of range you could expect with a heavy draw weight bow and a war arrow, and 200 meters appears to be about the limit. I know people say, 300 meters, not with an English longbow, nor with a Japanese Yumi. Flight arrows are a different thing. Excuse me. If you have a flight arrow, yes, you can get very long range shots, but you're not using flight arrows on the battlefield. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who got up to some really quite serious testing with the bows and arrows, and can't remember the name of his YouTube channel, but his name is I think his name is Todd Tedeschi, otherwise known as Todd Cutler, and he did some fairly serious testing, which was quite interesting. That was a few years ago. Alright, so I've probably got about 2 days of food there. With bonuses. Getting late.
I'm gonna need to eat soon.
It would be nice. Nah, never mind. I'm rambling. If we had some way of, I probably could. Okay, I'm talking and thinking to myself at the same time. Always a mistake. I don't necessarily recommend it. Oops, didn't want to do that. Oops. Sorry about that. This is just the usual. Sleep until you're rested. Pass a couple of hours playing cards. Sleep a wee bit more. Drink some water. Let's go and see if I can kill some poor innocent defenseless animal. No. I think that's the simple answer to that. Yeah, I'm actually somewhat sheltered. Well, ish, where I am. And I can already see my body temperature dropping quite quickly. So, yeah. And that is no more promising, is it? I mean, really.
Never been so hungry in my life.
I definitely need to kill something fairly soon. Or I'm going to have to go back to town to pick up more supplies that I've got stashed away there, which I don't want to do.
I'd eat anything right about now.
Well, at least I've got something constructive done. Okay. Alright, that's better. Much better. I'm not getting cold. And I definitely need to move those snares. And I definitely need to get some more cattails, because as a sort of last-ditch survival food, they actually prove quite useful. I think I've got plenty of wood for the moment. Sorry, when I go quiet, it's because I'm focusing somewhat. And of course, there's not going to be any deer. Well, let's find cattails anyway, if I haven't eaten them all. Actually, this is surprisingly reassuring. At least I've got something.
Can you eat trees?
No, technically human beings can't eat trees, young man. There was a starvation food that the Scandinavians would resort to, which they would use the inner bark from birch trees, dried out and pulverized, to add to flour to make bread. Now, the thing about that is there is no nutrition they're getting from that. They're simply bulking out their supplies. But the strange thing is, apparently, and I'm not sure if it's still the case, there was or is a bit of an interest at one point in, I want to say Finland, but I'm not sure about that, in eating bread that had been made with flour, and with flour made from the inner bark of birch. But that's more one of those fads than the idea that it might do you any good. Because it wouldn't. It's just one of those odd things that people latched onto as a sort of fad addition to the diet type of thing. I'm just, I'm not, well, I am sort of aimlessly wandering, but I'm just looking to see if there are any patches of rabbits that away from the fields. And before anybody says anything, yes, I'm familiar with rabbit starvation. I've talked about it before, as a matter of fact. Hello. Okay, that's the body over there, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Wish there was a way to get rid of those. That way I wouldn't get distracted by crows. I've probably commented on this before, but one of the feelings you get walking around like this is this sort of low-level constant dread. Okay, that's the body in the barn. Which sounds like a title from a particularly bad Asylum B movie. With all due respect to Asylum movies. Some of those actually can be quite fun. As long as you basically switch your mind off. You can find them on YouTube, including their what was their classic Nazis at the North Pole, something like that. shouldn't laugh really at I'm not actually laughing at Asylum, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the future we find out, if it hasn't happened already, that future film industry isn't provided with its talent from places like Asylum. Roger Corman, who was famous, of course, for his B-movies, produced quite a bit of talent that then made its way into the more large-scale movie production business. So I would half expect a film studio like Asylum to possibly end up doing the same thing. And as I say, some of them are genuinely quite fun. I won't say good, but definitely fun. And some of them you can almost tell that the people making it were thoroughly enjoying themselves, which is its own sort of pleasure. There's one, what was it? Oh, grief. I want to say Monster Island, but I'm not sure that was the name of it. And I've watched it a couple of times, so it can't be that bad. And one of the charming aspects of it was that it always looked to me like the people making it were just having fun doing it. The other people I find, and I don't know the name of the production company, but again you can find the movies on YouTube. The Chinese do some sometimes surprisingly good, what we would call B movies, creature features, that kind of thing. They sometimes put quite a lot of effort, it seems to me, into them. Well worth checking out. Yep, I'm guessing the weather is wrong for deer, but I have nothing else to do at this point, and I'm not dying of cold, so I can spend some time to generally scout out this area a bit more thoroughly. Of course, for me, and I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, the ultimate B-movie of recent time would have to be Tremors, which was, when did they make that? 1990s, and it is an absolute classic. It is. I don't know how many times I've watched Tremors. It is I saw it in the cinema of all places, and it is surprisingly good. It does harken back a bit to it's a very if you've watched some 50s creature features like Them, for example, which was giant ants in the desert, it was surprisingly good. And so Tremors, in my mind at least, harkens back to that particular era, and it was really good. I mean, it was good enough that they did 6 sequels. Tremors 2 was actually pretty good. I mean, they're all worth watching, but Tremors and Tremors 2 were really quite surprisingly good, I found. I mean, Tremors 2 was set in a slightly implausible Mexican oil field. I'm trying to remember. Tremors 3, was that Tremors 3 Back to Perfection? Some of them got a bit silly. as if the concept isn't silly in the first place. I'm gonna have to find a new place for rabbits. And what was one of them? Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell? I know I stole the title for one of my live streams. Yeah, that was really... That was... I mean, it was entertaining, but yeah, not... And Tremors Bloodlines, which I think was set in Africa, was... not fantastic. Shrieker Island, which was the last one they've done so far, was actually not bad. Alright, I am coming up on 2 hours of streaming, which is pretty much going to have to be my self-imposed maximum, unless, well, I don't know, chat gets particularly, you know, engaging in terms of disagreeing me on whatever it is I'm talking about. At which point I'll probably forget what I'm doing and get eaten by a wolf. But 2 hours seems to be about my general max. So you've got about 2 minutes, during which time I will return back to the farmhouse in the game. Unless something interesting happens in the next minute. In the game, I mean. So I'll use my little wander back home as an opportunity to say thank you everybody who's been watching. I appreciate it. I will probably be streaming again tomorrow at 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. I did try doing it 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock's a relatively good time for me, so I probably will. I do actually have to go into town and get some shopping done at some point, and I prefer to do that in the mornings. So, and as I said yesterday, I really need to start swimming again, but in principle at least I fully intend to continue this run of the Long Dark tomorrow, 9 o'clock GMT. So thank you for being here with me. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. A subscribe would also be appreciated. Although I have a suspicion the people that actually stay around long enough are already subscribed, in which case I thank you. I hope you all have a good rest of the day, and that the cold weather apocalypse doesn't jump on us anytime soon. And I will see you all next time. There is now a moment where you see me fumbling aimlessly as I try and bring the stream to a close. If I was editing these things, you wouldn't see it. But anyway, see you all next time.